What is up, guys? Today we're going over my ultimate noobs guide on Sarachnis. A ton of you have suggested that I do this, and I've actually wanted to do it for quite a while, even when the boss came out, so I'm so excited to finally make this guide. If you are new to the boss Sarachnis or want to learn how to do it more efficiently, then this is the guide for you. Before we get into the recommended stats and the rest of the guide, I do have a Welfare vs. Wealth episode that I recently made on Sarachnis that will definitely give some great information on how much money you can make at Sarachnis, and also which setups are most effective there depending on what you can afford. I definitely recommend heading on over to that video after this guide because it will for sure help you even more and give you unique information. If you are interested, go ahead and click the link in the description. If you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button to see more of my content. The channel has been doing extremely well these past few weeks, so thank you for that. If you enjoy watching my videos, go ahead and leave a like, and if you have any suggestions for another ultimate noobs guide on a monster or a boss that you want to see, let me know and I will definitely make one in the near future. Now, let's get started with the Sarachnis guide, starting with the recommended stats. Sarachnis does not have many requirements. The only one would be at least 43 prayer so you can use protect from melee, but I would actually recommend higher prayer, but the first melee stats I would recommend would be around 70 across the board. You could also have a higher magic level that would be beneficial, something around 60 to 70, because that would make your magic defense better, but we will get into that later. You could do Sarachnis with around 65 melee stats, but it would be much easier if you started once you got base 70. I would definitely recommend going for 70 prayer so you can use piety and so your prayer lasts much longer, but if you don't have the money for it, or if you can't because you are a certain build, go ahead and make sure to have at least 43 prayer. There are many reasons to kill Sarachnis, but the main reason people do it is for the good money it makes, especially for mid-level accounts. Unlike many other bosses, Sarachnis does not have a single drop that makes absolute bank. Instead, it has many drops that make it a consistent moneymaker every hour. It has good armor drops, as well as unique drops such as the Sarachnis Cudgel. It also drops a good amount of runes and ammunition, which add up over time, as well as seeds, with the more valuable ones being the Torstal and Snapdragon seeds. And since it drops seeds, it also drops herbs, and the materials Sarachnis drops make money over time as well. The final two areas are unique to Sarachnis, as it drops coins and random items, and some other good items to hunt Sarachnis for would be the Grubby Keys, the Giant Egg Sack, and Hard Clue Scrolls. A great benefit of farming Sarachnis for money would be to get the Sarachnis pet called Saracha, or what I like to call it, Sriracha, as it is personally one of my favorite pets. I have seen quite a few maxed accounts hunting for the pet, so it is somewhat popular. I will get more into the exact money per hour Sarachnis makes when I get into the setups, but for now, I want to explain the basic mechanics of Sarachnis before eventually showing you guys footage of me there. You will always use melee against Sarachnis, and preferably you will use a weapon with high crush attack because Sarachnis is weak to crush, and don't worry, I will go over what weapons to use later, but Sarachnis' combat style is melee and range, and like many bosses, it uses range if you are out of melee distance, and uses melee when you are within melee distance. Sarachnis does have some unique special attacks, however, one being a healing strike that is indicated by a purplish pink magenta hit splat. Sarachnis will heal 5 health for every successful melee hit on your character, and 10 health for every successful ranged attack if you are not praying the correct protection prayers. Sarachnis also has a sticky web special attack that occurs every 4 standard attacks. On every 4th hit, Sarachnis will screech a hiss and shoot a sticky web that leaves your character bound for roughly 3 seconds, which afterwards you can then move again. If you are new to bossing, the prayer switches at Sarachnis are relatively easy. When you are in melee distance, pray protect from melee, and on the 4th hit, when you are hit and stuck from the web attack, switch to protect from missiles, as Sarachnis will freeze you and then run away and start ranging you. Once you can move, run at Sarachnis and melee it again, switching to protect from melee once doing so, and you will just continue this pattern the rest of the fight. If you do stay on the inside corner of Sarachnis the entire time you are attacking it, you will only miss out on 1 hit each time Sarachnis uses the web attack. I will show you guys examples later on so it makes more sense, but always stay on the inside of Sarachnis to get the most hits, because the distance to run when Sarachnis moves during the web attack will be the shortest every time if you do so. In addition to Sarachnis' special attacks, Sarachnis also spawns 2 minions twice during the fight. One of the minions is blue and uses magic, and one is orange and uses melee. Both have low hit points and die relatively quickly. They both spawn twice. The first time they spawn is when Sarachnis has dropped to 66% health, and they again spawn when Sarachnis is at 33% health. If you're using a higher level setup and have high level stats like 90 plus in all combat stats, then you can mostly ignore them and only kill them when they are near you and it's convenient. If you are a lower level or have lower tier gear, you should immediately kill them as soon as they spawn each time, and always target the mage minion as you will take the most damage from it. My preferred method in general is if you are a higher level with higher stats and decent gear, you should only kill the mage minion if it is convenient, and you should mostly ignore the melee minion unless it is right next to you and also convenient to kill. Depending on your gear and levels though, you will have to switch it up, but I will show you an example later on with the gear I use with the levels that I have. You will take damage from them and could get stacked out if you have lower stats and lower gear, so do pay attention and target them as quick as possible. Now, let's go over the spec weapons you should use at Sarachnis. If you are working with a budget and do not have much GP, then stick to the Dragon Dagger as it is a great cheap option to use there. If you do have more money, I would recommend using Dragon Claws, and to use the spec each time the second minions spawn. That way, every time Sarachnis reaches 66% health, you dump your specs on it and Sarachnis will die quickly. If you cannot afford Dragon Claws, then I would recommend using either the BANDOS Godsword or the Dragon Warhammer, as the special attack lowers Sarachnis' defensive stats. If you're an Iron Man or working with a budget, you could also use the Crystal Halberd special attack. It works really well there. Some people do say to use the Saradomin Godsword, but I wouldn't even bother using it unless you're an Iron Man, as the BGS is cheaper and works way better. Now for killing Sarachnis, there are only 3 weapons I would recommend using there. Because Sarachnis is weak to crush, these weapons are by far the best ones to use there. The lower tiered and cheapest weapon would be the Leaf Bladed Battle Axe, and for the cost, it honestly works really well there. The next slight upgrade would be the Sarachnis Cudgel, because it has a faster attack rate than a normal mace and still has a high crush bonus, only slightly lower than the Leaf Bladed Battle Axe. By far the best weapon to use at Sarachnis, other than the Scythe or Inquisitor's Mace, is the Abyssal Bludgeon. It is a two-handed weapon that uses crush, and it has a fast attack speed, and this is what you will see most players using there. Now we will get into the possible setups. We will go over multiple tiered setups, and again, I did go in depth on these setups in a recent video where I did a wealth versus wealth episode on Sarachnis, so if you are interested in seeing these setups in depth, click the link in the description. A lower tiered setup that is still viable and works well at Sarachnis would be this. It costs around 350k and it'll still average 450k GP an hour with base 90 stats even after the cost of supplies. This setup uses the Helm of Nadasnot, the Fire Cape, the Amulet of Glory, the Honorable Blessing, the Leaf Bladed Battle Axe, the Fighter's Torso, the Dragon Defender, Black D'hide Chaps, Rune Boots, Barrow's Gloves, and the Explorer's Ring as a free ring that provides prayer bonus. In the inventory is a regular super combat potion, 3 prayer potions, a Dragon Dagger as the spec wep, and teleport to house runes to get there and to bank after trips. I will go into detail with options how to get there after I go through these setups, so you may change the inventory based on how you will teleport there and bank after trips. Also, on the way to Sarachnis, you will need a weapon or item to slash multiple webs, so always have a weapon equipped that can do that, or an item in your inventory like a knife or wilderness sword, or a spec wep that can do it as well to slash the webs. The next tiered setup, the medium tier, sees some upgrades. This setup upgrades to the Amulet of Fury, the Sarachnis Cudgel, the Carol's Skirt, Dragon Boots, and the Berserker Ring. We also see some upgrades in the inventory. We see the BANDOS Godsword, a Divine Super Combat Potion, Sharks, and an additional Prayer Potion. This setup would make you 500k GP an hour with base 90 stats, so it really doesn't make much more money than the previous setup, but this would be the next step in gear and is great if you have a mid-level cash stack. The next setup is a more expensive mid-tier setup, and it now has full Carols, the Abyssal Bludgeon, and Guardian Boots. The inventory is the same, and it'll average around 650k GP an hour with base 90 stats. Adding an Abyssal Bludgeon to your setup really helps you get more kills per hour, so definitely use it if you can afford it, and feel free to upgrade to the Torture, Primordial Boots, the Nadasnot Face Guard, and Ferocious Gloves at any point if you can afford it. The final setup I will show you costs over 1.2 bill, and it'll average you 820k GP an hour at base 90 melee stats. This setup upgrades to the Torture, Bandos Chestplate and Tassets, the Inquisitor's Mace, which is worth over 800 mil, Primordial Boots, Ferocious Gloves, and the Brimstone Ring. The inventory now has Dragon Claws for a spec weapon, the Imbued Heart to boost your magic level to give you a higher magic defense against the mage minions, to speed up your kills, and it also has a knife so you do not have to waste time dropping a shark to be able to slash the webs on the way to Sarachnis by using the Dragon Claws. I also created a gear progression chart for Sarachnis, and it looks like this. I would first recommend spending money on upgrading to the Abyssal Bludgeon, which is worth 33 mil GP, as it will significantly speed up your kills even if you use the same armor as the low tiered setup and only upgrade the weapon. The next upgrade would be full Carols, costing 2.3 mil, as it allows you to ignore the mage minion much more so you can speed up your kills. After that, I would recommend getting the BGS if you can afford it, but obviously use it before buying the bludgeon if you do have around 13 mil GP and cannot afford the bludgeon yet. The BGS is obviously better than the DDS when using something like the Leaf Bladed Battle Axe as your primary weapon. The next upgrade would be the Dragon claws worth almost 60 mil, as this will also significantly speed up your kills. After that, you can really upgrade all of the accessory items like boots, amulets, and gloves to whatever the best option is that you can afford. Again, the accessories can always and should always be upgraded whenever they can be if you have enough money to buy them, but you can't upgrade your spec web. Now I will tell you guys a couple of options on how to get there. The best option would be to use a XERIC'S talisman and teleport to the XERIC'S glade, which is near the dungeon Sarachnis is in. The next option would be to move your player-owned house to Kourend and use house teleport tabs or the teleport spell to teleport there and then run to the dungeon. If you do not have the construction level to do that, then you could instead make Kourend house teleport tabs by using scrolls of redirection from Nightmare Zone on house tabs and use those instead. The next option would be to use a skills necklace teleport to the woodcutting guild, which is what I used to use. This method is quicker to a different entrance of the same dungeon, so it's actually slower than the other two options. Here's a map with the teleport locations so you can get a better understanding. The main entrance on the right is very close to Sarachnis, and that is why the first two options are better, but the skills necklace does take you to the alternate entrance, so that would work as well. After each trip, you will teleport to your player-owned house if you have an ornate pool to restore your stats and teleports to a bank, or you can instead use a dueling ring and teleport to the FEROX enclave to restore your stats and use the bank there instead. If you don't know what that is, it is a new update to the game and basically replaced the Clan Wars portal as a way to restore your stats. Now I will show you an example trip and show you what a typical inventory looks like. When you are ready, go ahead and use whichever method to teleport there. I use the method of teleporting outside of my house in Kourend and then running there by running to the northwest near the dungeon. Once you get to the ladder, enter the dungeon and run south. Equip or use whatever item or weapon you have to slash the webs on the way there. I use my BANDOS God Sword when using this setup. Once you get to the entrance, go ahead and pod up. Use your quick prayers of Protect from Missiles and Piety, and then spec Sarachnis once. In the beginning, Sarachnis uses a freeze spell, so that is why you protect from range. After you are unfrozen, go ahead and attack Sarachnis and pray protect from melee once in melee distance. Once the minions spawn, you can ignore them unless they are nearby and it is convenient to attack them. So in this clip, I actually attack the melee minion right away and kill it because it is right next to me, and I also eventually attack one of the mage minions when it is convenient as well, but really, in this type of setup with my 90 plus melee stats, I don't worry about the minions too much. Once you kill Sarachnis, go ahead and pick up the loot and start killing it again when it spawns. Notice how I am staying on the inside corner of Sarachnis every time I attack it. This is because this is the best way to only miss out on one attack whenever you are frozen by the web attack, so just always stay on the inside of the boss. The basic idea of killing Sarachnis is to pray protect from range in the beginning. Use your special attack. Once you are frozen, continue to use protect from range. Then when you are unfrozen, run to Sarachnis and switch to protect from melee. Stay on the inside corner at all times to save time on your trips, and ignore the minions if you have higher stats and gear unless it is convenient. And then continue to attack Sarachnis, switching your prayers when needed. Again, I am a higher level and have good gear, so I choose to ignore the minions for the most part, but if you have lower tiered gear or lower stats, then you need to target the mage minion immediately when it spawns and then the melee minion. Now I will show you the loot from a typical inventory at this combat level and 90 plus stats. Here is the loot. I managed to get 6 kills with this gear and made 176 KGP, which is pretty typical for a trip. I normally average 5 to 7 kills per trip. That brings us to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found the guide helpful. I would highly recommend trying out Sarachnis if you are new to bossing or a low/mid-level account, as Sarachnis is a super fun boss to do and will make you good money over time. If you guys did enjoy this video, go ahead and leave a like and also comment any suggestions you have for another monster or boss that you want to see in an Ultimate Noobs guide. If you are new to the channel and want to continue to see my content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We recently reached our goal of 5k subs and we are well on our way to 6k subs, so thank you for that. If you do want to talk in game or PVM in game, go ahead and join my clan chat Hartblitz and also join the Discord in the description. In the last couple of videos, I have had you guys comment a secret word to prove you watched the entire video, and I have really enjoyed reading your guys' comments because you guys always make funny and creative sentences with the words. For this video, I'm going to give you guys a break, so if you made it this far, don't feel obligated to comment a secret word, just comment whatever you want. Thanks guys so much for watching, stay tuned for my next video. P.S. The secret word is butterscotch. If you're listening to this, you are the GOAT and actually watch the entire video. Comment butterscotch to confuse everybody.